So it's Shadow from my team versus Fran from the worst team. Storms are currently up 2-0, so we need to win 2 out of the next 4 to win the week. Thieves have to win at least 3 if they want to tie.
Yeah.
Out of the next 4. So Fran is definitely favored in this. Fran, I think, was drafted for probably somewhere like 15 or 20K, and Shadow, I think I got Shadow for like 3.5K, which was insane. But yeah, I got Shadow for 3.5, and Fran was 15K. Yeah. Oh, and the game has started. Let's see. And again, I of course know Shadow's sets, but I'm gonna pretend like I don't, for sake of entertainment and fairness and all of that. So from Shadow we see Galarian Wheezing, which is always a fun mon. And Fran sort of has a variant on the Sunrose Quello Lee team with Urshifu, Dragalge, Porygon 2. I think all 3 of those were on that team. Maybe Rillaboom's on it as well.
Yeah. Both players rolling up with P2 Semiroom. That's pretty interesting. Both teams also have an Urshifu to break these kinds of teams specifically. So this is an interesting matchup for sure. Wheezing Galarian looks like it can be pretty brazy here, considering it can stop. Well, actually, I don't think anything on Shadowmonst's team actually has Protect. Like, at most, it would be Dragapult, but I think that's Specs. So,
Protect?
at most, the only thing that can feasibly run Protect on Shadowmonst's team is the Wheezing itself.
Yeah, really Urshifu runs Protect sometimes, and sometimes Dragapult as well.
If it's not banned, yeah.
One unfortunate thing for Shadow is that usually Wheezing relies on Toxic Spikes, but Fran can just switch in the Dragalge to eat up the Toxic Spikes. So if I had to, give a matchup favor, I think this favors Fran pretty heavily.
Well, I think Dragalge is really dangerous.
And we see a Fake Out to the Wheezing and a U-turn into Rillaboom. That doesn't look like Life Orb or Choice Band damage from Urshifu, does it?
Yeah, it could be Scarfed. Maybe. Frania's team does look really slow, and it does need a speed safety net for a Semiroom team that's outside of just grassy gliding stuff with Rillaboom. So it could be actually Scarf.
Yeah, it is pretty slow. I don't know. This is definitely a tough matchup for Shadow, though. If you're Shadow, I think you need to worry about the Porygon 2, because normally Toxic Spikes are your way to beat it. But as we talked about, Fran can just absorb those Toxic Spikes with Dragalge. If Shadow is able to get, set up T-Spikes while Dragalge is in and poison something like the Diancie or the Porygon 2, that'll help him out big time.
Shadowmonstr, if he has an offensive, an Urshifu with an offensive boosting item like Life Orb or CB, that can be pretty dangerous against Frania's team as well. The only switch-in he really has is Dragalge, the only safe switch-in rather. And Frania's own Urshifu isn't totally safe, considering it can still get destroyed by a close combat. So this Urshifu right now on Shadowmonst's team is in a pretty good spot, provided that this Wheezing does not switch out, so that
and we do see Protect on the Wheezing, and Close Combat picks up the KO on the Rillaboom. And Eruption Tran, how much is this going to do? A fuckload to the Urshifu. Is that Specs? Or I don't know my Heatran calcs well enough, or is that just,
That's definitely not Specs.
That's not Specs.
I'm not even sure if that's Charcoal, because Urshifu is just that much of a piece of shit special defensively, especially when it's -1.
Right. So Urshifu is actually in a great spot here to just click Surging Strikes or Close Combat again next turn, right?
Yeah.
And Fran still hasn't really revealed that item on his own Urshifu. That's not banded damage, right? 42 to Rillaboom, and it didn't reveal Life Orb. So what else does Urshifu run? Choice Scarf maybe, right? Because if this is a slower team, we might see Choice Scarf on it.
I think it's only Choice Scarf. Yeah, considering this, again, Frania's team is really slow. It really needs some speed.
If
That's
it's
not
Scarf, does
priority.
U-turn kill Shadow's Urshifu? Because Fran can't really just leave his own Urshifu in and take a potential stab move from Weezing or a Will-O-Wisp. Although I guess
Yeah.
Heatran will do a ton of damage. So I'm
If
not really sure here.
if it's adamant, probably. I'm not sure about if it kills if it's just jolly or something.
Another play that Shadow could make if he thinks the Heatran is going to stay in, and if he has Aqua Jet, is to Aqua Jet the Heatran for some chip. I know that Life Orb Urshifu runs Aqua Jet a lot of the time. So that might not be a bad move to weaken Eruption's damage, because full health Heatran is a lot scarier than a half health Heatran.
Yeah, especially a heat trend that can't just spam eruptions anymore.
Yeah, and
That's the main
another thing
situation
actually
here.
that I didn't realize just now is that Shadow can protect on this Urshifu, because Urshifu does not have Unseen Fists right now due to neutralizing gas. So Shadow
Yeah.
can actually protect, which is something you can't ever really do on Urshifu.
Yeah. Well, if anything though, I would be wary of just donating my Urshifu right here if I was Shadow Monster, considering he would
Oh, we do
probably
see the
still
Aqua
want
Jet.
the Urshifu for P2, but no, he just elects to just get the chip on the Heatran.
Yep, we definitely see Tran is not choice locked. I think that was a great play by Shadow. Getting the 50% chip off on Heatran, preserving your Weezing, and Dragapult's in great shape here. We don't know what
Yeah.
set it is, and depending on the set, obviously different things could happen. But Dragapult should be in pretty good shape here. It
Yeah.
resists. It's not going to go down to anything that Heatran or Urshifu clicks. Neither of them can OHKO Dragapult from here.
I think I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it Dragapult lives Surging Strikes from Adamant Urshifu.
From
That's
Choice Scarf? Almost certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly
Yeah.
does.
I'm just gonna double check to be sure with a quick call.
Yeah, I think if you're Shadow here, you probably go into Zapdos, right? Or potentially Rillaboom?
I think you definitely go Rillaboom, considering. Well, if I'm just assuming this Dragapult is choice specs, but if it is choice specs, I think Shadow Ball is pretty much free here on the Heatran slot.
It's not too free because there is a Porygon 2 in the back, and if you're choice locked, it's a little iffy to lock yourself into a Ghost move with a normal type in the back. But you can't really lock yourself
That's
into
fair.
Dragon either, because obviously Heatran resists and Diancie is immune. So there might be a little bit of a guessing game going on here. Again, depending on the Dragapult set.
Well, if I were Franny here, I would always only assume a special attacking set for on that Dragapult. And considering, I mean, yeah, it could be. It's most likely a special attacking set. It could be Life Orb, or it could be Choice Specs. It could only really be one of those two, considering what we've seen in the metagame in the past.
Yeah, and now that I think about it a little more, Shadow letting Urshifu go down like that is really not good, because Urshifu, you really need it for Diancie, and you really need it for Porygon too. Both of those Mons are going to be very, very hard for Shadow to kill. So I actually do think Fran has a pretty strong upper hand right now.
Also, I just checked the cock. Oh, JK. The cock is wrong. Yeah, Surging Strikes only deals 40 to 48 on this Dragapult, so
Okay.
it's sitting comfy here right now.
Yeah, but I don't know if Shadow has enough damage to break through the Porygon 2 Diancie Trick Room core that Fran has.
That's good. That's why I was a bit unsure earlier if Shadow Monster actually should get the chip on the Heatran just for. I mean, I was unsure if Shadow Monster should get the chip on the Heatran at the cost of his Urshifu, because he really will want that Urshifu just to get a strong hit off on Frania's P2 or Frania's Diancie.
Yeah, and I actually am not quite sure I agree with Shadow switching in Rillaboom here, because you need Rillaboom for some of the stuff in the back, and you don't need Zapdos for anything in the back. Zapdos is pretty dead weight against Dragalge, Porygon 2, and Diancie, so I'm not sure why you don't bring in Zapdos, and you're okay if it takes a lot of chip, as long as it gets some damage off on Urshifu or Heatran.
Well, if Shadow Monster is assuming that our Urshifu is Choice Scarf, which it very well could be, then this Urshifu is now dead weight on this position, and Shadow Monster is then just free to do whatever he wants essentially. But he's most likely gonna pin this Heatran with the Shadow Ball, and this Rillaboom is probably gonna Wood Hammer something.
I
Or
would
Grassy
expect the
Glide,
Urshifu
or
to switch out
Yugi.
into Porygon too, right?
Yeah.
I would expect. I don't really know. I don't think you keep Urshifu in here because you want to save it for that for Shadow's own Porygon too. That's in the back. If you're Shadow, I think really your best way to win this game is to figure out some way to get T-Spikes up and maybe force in the Dragalge. Wow, we see Urshifu just stay in and Heatran protect.
Yeah,
Let's see what Shadow goes for.
It was indeed Choice Scarf.
Shadow goes for a U-turn on the Urshifu. I wonder what Rillaboom clicks.
Yeah.
We didn't see it go for a Grassy Glide.
Yeah, Shadow Monster did not give a shit about the Heatran that turn. He absolutely knew that Heatran wasn't going to do anything here.
Oh,
JK,
not
the Rillaboom has
necessarily.
high horsepower.
High horsepower Rillaboom, but
yeah,
that was a bold turn for Fran, keeping the Urshifu in there. I don't really understand that, but obviously it worked out well for him. If you're Shadow, though, you've really got to figure out a way to get these Toxic Spikes up and to get this Dragalge down, because I don't see how you win this game without Poison.
Well, if there's something that we have to note here is that Rillaboom is confirmed faster than the Heatran because of grassy terrain healing. So this high horsepower is gonna kill this Heatran before it does anything, basically. And,
that's a good observation there. That's why we pay you the big bucks, Memo, because I didn't notice that.
Yeah, well, this Zapdos is just free to Thunderbolt something. Probably most likely the Urshifu slot.
Yeah. If you're a Fran, you really don't want to let Heatran go down, right? Because Heatran should, wall this Galarian Weezing. So I'm going to call it again, but I think we see Porygon 2 switch in here. Or actually, not that bad of a switch into Dragalge on the Urshifu slot. That's also not a bad switch.
Yeah, it's
but
not
you probably want to leave Dragalge in the back so it can always absorb T-Spikes whenever you need to.
Rillaboom being high horsepower instead of the typical Wood Hammer Fort move that we usually see on most Rillabooms it being HH is very good in this matchup considering it's an actual move that prevents Dragalge from being an actual big threat in this game. It can't actually come into the Rillaboom anymore and just disrespect it. So if I were Frania now, I would be looking into ways in closing out this game that involve just setting up Trick Room and then getting Dragalge after that. So you can preserve as much HP on your Dragalge as much as possible because it can't actually disrespect much anymore on this team.
We see Porygon 2 switch in. We see Urshifu go for Surging Strikes on the Zapdos. Again, staying in the face of Zapdos and Rillaboom. Gets the pair on the Static. I think there's a very good chance to get that, though. And we see Urshifu live the Volt switch, which is pretty crazy. And Porygon 2 comes in. So now Weezing is in and can set up T-Spikes. But again, Dragalge can just switch in at any point. So I'm not really sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if this Weezing just straight up used Toxic either. That's not Toxic Spikes plus Toxic isn't really too absurd of an idea for me. So I think that's still a possibility here that Frania should be respecting Toxic on the Weezing.
Definitely, it is a possibility, yeah. This game is close, but I still think I'm giving the upper hand to Fran. That combo of Diancie and Dragalge in the back can really just sweep through Shadow. I'm still not seeing how Shadow wins this game.
Well, if Shadow Monster just continuously keeps applying pressure with his Rillaboom, um, I, I think he still has a good shot. He has the upper hand right now, but I'm not sure how he'll close this one out because yeah, Diancie and Dragalge are still pretty dangerous threats, I must say.
Very, very dangerous threats. And Shadow disconnected. Shadow.
Yep, that's one win con for Frania that we just found. And as we speak, Fespi is now in his team Discord pinging Shadow Monster to please come back to the game.
I am absolutely doing that.
Yep, Shadow Monster apparently was the one who set the timer.
Oh my goodness, Shadow. There he goes, he's back.
Spared. Well, if your net is bad, I don't think it's in your best interest to turn the timer on.
Yeah.
Well, if I were Frania, I would turn on the timer, but I'm an asshole.
And we see Fran stay in again with the Urshifu, no care in the world.
Taunt.
And we see a taunt on the P2 to stop the Trick Room.
I thought that was possible, but I was also thinking, does that actually do anything? And at most, that basically means that in order for Diancie and Dragalge to be threats, they actually need to take hits first. So I guess that does something.
Yeah, if Trick Room got set up there, I think Fran just wins with Ice Beam and Sludge Bomb, right?
Well, it's mostly just Sludge Bomb, but yeah, Dragalge would have popped off.
Dragalge would have popped off. You could have even swapped the P2 into Diancie if you want to click Diamond Storm plus Sludge Bomb. So, anyways, good play from Shadow. I think if we see the taunt and protect, the chances of having Toxic are not very high.
Yeah. If it's protect, it's taunt, it definitely needs an attacking move. It's probably Sludge Bomb for opposing Rillabooms, and in order for this Wheezing to make sense on this composition, it also definitely or probably has Toxic Spikes. So yeah, it's probably protect on Toxic Spike Sludge Bomb. That's what I would assume.
Yeah. Interesting switch into Heatran here from Fran, knowing that Heatran is slower than Rillaboom and Rillaboom is carrying the high horsepower. So I'm not sure what Fran's game plan is, but I'm guessing there is a game plan.
It's probably just to force the Rillaboom to high horsepower the Heatran as the Heatran protects and the P2 Ice Beams the Rillaboom. But if that Rillaboom is Assault Vest, it's gonna devour the Ice Beam. It's gonna munch it.
Yeah, we see the Wheezing switch out, which gives Porygon 2 a +1 special attack. We see the high horsepower go into Heatran and the Ice Beam doing a lot of damage to Rillaboom.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I was saying, yeah, this Rillaboom is gonna devour an Ice Beam, but not a +1 Ice Beam. And Wheezing switching out there, that's interesting. I don't think it actually needed to switch out there, if I'm gonna be honest. But I suppose getting P2 in here for Shadow Monster is still a fine play here as well.
Yep.
Ally switch.
And we see high horsepower miss. That's rough.
Pain.
Good play by Shadow, I think, to have the Porygon 2 eat the Ice Beam for the Rillaboom, but high horsepower missing is just rough. Interestingly enough, though, Shadow does... You know, Shadow can guarantee a lot of damage. Dragalge is presumably Specs, right? That's what we normally see. So Shadow can either double up into Dragalge and pick up the KO, or high horsepower the Heatran and Ice Beam the Dragalge. There's a little bit of a guessing game to be played here this turn.
Yeah, this is tough.
Wait, Heatran being Flamethrower, that's interesting. I suppose Flamethrower is better against Rillabooms, Assault Vest Rillabooms, since there's no spread reduction if it
Yeah,
was
and it
Heat Wave,
guarantees
for
that you don't
example.
miss and does a little more damage. And Heat Wave and Flamethrower are both viable options.
Yeah, well, personally I'd run Heat Wave because I always hit, but Flamethrower is indeed a nice move as well. P2 coming in here, that's absolutely safe and
Yep, and we see
absolutely
High
makes
Horsepower
sense.
and Ice Beam. A good double up
Freeze!
and a freeze. If Shadow could turn it around, that's how you do it. That is a huge freeze. And now, if that P2 stays frozen, Heatran is already protected. I think High Horsepower plus Ice Beam into the Heatran slot is basically a guaranteed KO. Not quite, but pretty close. Shadow has to decide how much he wants to try to get greedy on this frozen Porygon 2.
Yeah. High horsepower miss into Heatran Flamethrower on his own P2 to Thaw and then Trick Room. The comeback for Dragage. But yeah, that freeze was pretty bad, I must say.
That's a huge freeze there.
This P2 could have Trick Room right now if it wanted to. I think.
If you're talking about Fran, right?
Yeah, if it didn't freeze, obviously, but I'm pretty sure it eats an Ice Beam and a Grassy Glide. But
High Horsepower into Shuka Heatran, and Heatran KOs the Rillaboom. What the heck? What is going on? I don't know. And now,
can Diancie win?
Does Diancie win? Yeah, I don't know. Diancie might win. What do you think? Ice Beam freeze again? Diancie does not have recovery, though. And honestly, Diancie doesn't do enough to Porygon 2 into Weezing. I think Weezing and Porygon 2 just attack the Diancie over and over again, right?
Yeah, this P2 has to Thaw, basically, if Frania has any shot in this game.
I have to imagine that Weezing and Porygon 2, if they both attack Diancie, can kill it in 2 turns, right? 2 plus 1 Ice Beams plus 2 whatever Weezing has. Assuming it has an attack. Sure. It doesn't necessarily have to have one, but usually carries at least one.
Well, that's assuming Shadowmonstr doesn't taunt first.
That's true. Shadow could go for a taunt. If you go for a taunt, though, I think you open yourself up a little bit to some, body press, Diamond Storm shenanigans, but you also really, really don't want to let Dragalge in Trick Room. So maybe you do taunt the Diancie and Ice Beam it. That's a pretty safe play if you're Shadow. How much do we think Ice Beam does to Diancie? Do you think 2 Ice Beams from Porygon 2 and 1 attack from Weezing will kill Diancie?
Well,
probably not, right? If we're gonna be honest.
I'm gonna check the Candy Dandy damage calculator.
We also don't know the Diancie or the Porygon or the Weezing spread. It's worth noting. We don't know any of them.
Yeah, but... Well, I would assume Ice Beam does somewhere around 28?
I think a little more than that. I think over 30, but... Let's see. Ooh, Shadow goes for the P2 and taunts the Diancie. And Porygon thaws and Toxics the Porygon. And Diamond Storm.
This is getting spicy.
This is still a game. This is totally a game. Either person could win this game at this point.
Well, this P2 obviously is not gonna recover anytime soon because this Weezing is just gonna taunt it. But damn, I'm not sure if... Well, I'm just gonna say I'm not sure if Frania needed to Toxic the P there. I think Recover was better. Well, that's what I suppose Frania was assuming. Shadowmonstr would just ignore this P2 considering it's frozen, and now that it's unfrozen, but also
yeah, I think Recover was definitely the right play for Fran. I really do.
Well, that Recover was the right play only if you knew that Shadowmonstr was actually gonna give a shit about a frozen P2, and if you were Frania there, you obviously wonder why would Shadowmonstr give a shit about Frozen P2. He could just ignore that. So
Yeah, maybe. But if you recover and you have a full health P2, I guess it can get taunted again. I'm not sure. I don't really know.
yeah, P2 could win. P2 is the win con here right now, considering it actually solos everybody on Shadowmonstr's team.
It does, but it does not while it's taunted in low health. So
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of guessing games to be made here. Do you taunt? Do you fire off an attack with Wheezing? If you're Fran, do you try to recover with P2? Do you just keep clicking Ice Beam? Big guessing game. I really do think this could go either direction at this point.
Yeah, that's fair play to Shadowmonstr, I must say.
If you're Shadow, though, don't you lose if Fran gets Trick Room set up?
Well,
I think you lose because this Zapdos is full health or half health, but I mean, yeah, Dragalge should kill everything on this team, so I think you have to prevent Trick Room.
Yeah, if Frania isn't getting Trick Room ever because this P2 is getting taunted to stop Recover as well as to stop Trick Room.
Well, it doesn't have to get taunted. If you're Shadow, you could throw an Ice Beam and an attack from Wheezing into the P2 and just kill it this turn.
That's also true. Yeah, you could also just do that, but
you could kill it, you could taunt it. I don't think taunting it is the right play. I think you actually double up into the P2 and guarantee yourself a knockout. But
that's true.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if you guarantee it, hear me out. You guarantee a knockout, you assume P2 lives this turn, right? And then I think you can pick up the KO on Dragalge next turn. I think if you're Shadow, you double the P2 this turn and you double the Dragalge next turn, and you might win the game.
I think it just basically ends up in
if you're
how much
Diancie, you can just sweep with Diamond Storm, though. I don't know. This is a tough one. This is a very tough one.
It's really just gonna end up on
Dragalge switches
the damage race.
Ice Beam off on Dragalge, and a taunt on the Dragalge, and a Diamond Storm coming off from Diancie.
A Shadowmonstr was not confident in his own Pokemon, apparently.
No. So, I don't quite understand that play for Shadow, why you don't go for an attack, right? Maybe it doesn't kill. Maybe it doesn't kill, but I think it does.
Well, it depends on what attacking move this Wheezing has. If it did not Sludge Bomb there, I think Sludge Bomb does enough. It's 32%. The Shadowmonstr's own P2 did 21% with Ice Beam the previous turn, and I assume Sludge Bomb would deal 11%. So
I think Fran still wins this game, though, right? I don't see a way for Shadow to do enough damage to the Dragalge and the Diancie. Maybe another freeze on the Diancie could pull it out, but I still don't see how Shadow wins this game. Nope, we see the Dragalge get KO'd. We see Toxic Spikes get set up. So P2 is getting poisoned, but again, I don't see how Shadow wins this still.
Wait. This is complicated now. Oh my god.
No, I think Fran just wins.
I think Fran just wins because Wheezing can't stop both. I think.
No, I think Fran wins. I don't really see an out for Shadow.
Well, the thing is, Diamond Storm is not a 100% accurate move.
That's true. And I don't really understand the T-Spike there either. Because it hurts Porygon, but I don't know. I'm not really understanding a lot of these plays.
I think you just Diamond Storm and recover? Yeah, I think you just no Ice Beam, right?
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
I hope this Dragapult is Hydro Pump.
I didn't even know it got Hydro Pump.
Like Choice Specs Hydro Pump, like Iron Hydro Pump. It's epic. It's nice for Incineroar who think they're gonna live.
Well,
it's also nice for Diancie right now. And I'm pretty sure it does not kill actually, but it's definitely nice here.
Yeah. We see Draco picking up the KO on the P2, so again, that Toxic Spike was useless. And we see Diancie, just fires off another Diamond Storm. So now, barring some crazy Diamond Storm misses, Fran has won this game.
Oh, yep. That's T-Bolt Para?
We've seen Zapdos reveal Volt Switch. Probably not T-Bolt.
Well, it could be T-Bolt and Volt Switch. I wouldn't
It's
be
not.
against that,
It's
but
not.
yeah,
You could go
yeah.
for a Heat Wave Burn. That's your out.
Volt Switch, Heat Wave, Tailwind Roost. It's probably that
Something like
with
that.
heavy
Yep.
duty boots. Or it could not be Tailwind. It could also just be Toxic. Or something.
I don't know. If you're a Shadow, I think you don't taunt either of these last 2 turns. I think you have to keep firing off attacks over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Diamond Storm could miss. Heat Wave could burn. But I think the odds are looking very heavily in Fran's favor. Oh, we see Zapdos Roost. Oh, can this Zapdos stall out the Diance's Diamond Storms?
Well, if it could just press at one Rooster and...
I guess it could, right? It could body press also.
Yeah, this is also why I advocate for pressure Zapdos, by the way.
Well, the static was really big earlier in the game on the Urshifu too.
Well, that's true, but...
No, I think you
don't
run
think it's
static when
actually
there's an
needed.
Urshifu running around everywhere in this game.
Well, pressure is nice for speed checking stuff too.
Pressure is good for speed checking. That's true. That's true. But
Yeah. Well,
you know something's speed when it's paralyzed.
this is a bit of a tangent, but if I would run pressure Zapdos on an offensive Zapdos in rain. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to this
I
game.
think I'm with you on that. We already know this is static, of course. So, Shadow's probably thinking what ways can he hacks himself out of this? Maybe the Diancie isn't body press, although I find that highly unlikely that it wouldn't be.
Yeah, it's probably like doing a ritual to get Frania's internet cut off or something.
I think a Heat Wave Burn does win you the game, though, if you're Shadow. And that has like a 10% chance of happening, but no, it just goes for a Volt Switch.
Oh, it's dazzling.
It's Play Rough!
Why did
It's not body press! It's not body press! This is a game! This is a game!
Why is this Play Rough? It's not even... Is this team that weak to the guards?
It's a game! I can't believe it.
Zapdos wins, right?
No, well, if you're Fran, you set up Trick Room, right? Because then your Diamond Storms go before Zapdos' Roosts.
Well, Weezing can taunt.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, I think that Play Rough was to conserve Diamond Storms.
Yeah, but it didn't even kill the Weezing. Also, is this back-to-back weeks where Galarian Weezing lives on the 3% in a clutch fashion? I think it is. It survived in UU for Atmosphere last week, and it's surviving clutch for Shadow again. This is interesting. This is really interesting. This is the most interesting endgame I've seen in a while, I have to say. This game is taking forever, by the way. It's been going on for half an hour. We're already 20 minutes past when the other 2 games were supposed to start. So sorry, Wob and Yellow Paint, and I forget who the other game is. Biosai and Mizu, I think. I think that's the other game.
Yeah, Mizu and Biosai.
Yeah. So sorry to all of those players, but I think they're starting a little late.
I just realized this Weezing really did just use Dazzling Gleam, and I'm wondering for who though? Like just Urshifu and Dragapult. But
Weezing did use Dazzling Gleam. Yeah, we spent a lot of time debating what the last move should be and just kind of didn't make a good decision and just chose a random move. But, anyways.
Well, it doesn't really matter, but... Oh!
Yeah, I mean, Sludge Bomb would obviously be a lot better, but... anyways. Shadow and Fran both left. Good. Fucking, yeah, Mizu, sorry about that. I know you're going to be playing late.
Is Mizu the next game?
Alright, we see a Volt Switch come out and a Dazzling Gleam. Diamond Storm doesn't kill the Zapdos. And Volt Switch kills, I think. I think Volt Switch kills. Did Shadow just pull this one out of his ass?
Mished. Absolutely mished.
It killed! Shadow won! What the actual hell just happened? Oh
That ties
my
Thieves,
god.
right?
Oh my god.
Storm's
What
up
the
3-0.
hell? That Zapdos just 1v1 to Diancie.
Storm's up 3-0.
Wow, well,
On this
taunt
second-
on Wheezing was huge. I'm really glad we brought that, even though it didn't get T-Spikes up on anything. Holy cow.